Anti-TPP for short. This deal is being negotiated in secret talks with the U.S. Trade Representative and approximately 600 corporate representatives. The negotiations are being held in secret without input from our elected officials or the public. At Hamilton Sundstrand, we have seen our hourly workforce reduced from a high of almost 5,000 bargaining unit workers in the 1980s to now fewer than 1,000 workers. The same devastating job losses are being felt at our sister company Pratt & Whitney in East Hartford. Our work is being sent to other countries thanks in large part to so-called free trade agreements like NAFTA. The jobs we have lost were jobs that allowed many families to live the American dream and be a part of the middle class. Right now, as we speak, Hamilton Sundstrand is shipping our machinist work to Mexico. A large portion of this work is taxpayer-funded military work. Should our taxes pay for jobs in Mexico or jobs right here in Connecticut? Right here in Connecticut. This TPP deal is being called NAFTA on steroids. If you think losing over 700,000 jobs in the wake of NAFTA was bad, hold on to your seat because the TPP is going to make it easier for corporations to chase low wages in any country that signed on to this deal. So far, the countries signed on to the TPP are Australia, Brunei, Chile, Malaysia, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, Vietnam, Mexico, Canada, and Japan. China will probably be the next country to sign on. According to details that have been leaked out, this might be the last trade deal ever negotiated because countries could just dock on to this deal without negotiating a separate trade deal. If these trade deals were actually good for workers and created jobs as they claim, we would be patting our politicians on the back and thanking them for creating more jobs, but that is not what is happening. We continue to lose jobs while corporations offshore jobs to the lowest wage country they can find. How many times do they think they can fool us by saying free trade increases exports? The only exports we've seen increase are the exporting of jobs. Right. Folks, it's not about increasing exports. It's about increasing corporate profits and getting around our domestic laws that corporations feel are hindering their ability to increase profits. The scariest part of this fiasco is the rights and privileges which will be bestowed upon corporations and the constraints that will be put on our own government regulations and domestic laws. Jobs will be easier to offshore. Our government's ability to control natural resources, regulate financial services, control land use, food safety, energy, tobacco, healthcare, internet freedom, and more will be compromised. Buy American laws and anti-sweatshop regulations will be null and void under this deal. This is corporate power gone wild. Other countries could sue the United States if their ability to make profits were hampered by our domestic laws. These lawsuits would not be tried in our court systems, but through a tribunal made up of corporate representatives. This would also be happening in the other countries that are part of the TPP. It would hurt workers and families around the globe. What can we do to stop this assault on our democracy? We have to call or write your representatives in Congress and ask them to not fast-track this flawed trade deal through Congress. Fast-track would take away the ability of our elected representatives to amend or debate the contents of this deal. We elected them to protect us from exactly this kind of corporate power grab. I wore this shirt today that says Made in the USA. If corporations get their way, this shirt will become a collector's item. Let's not let that happen. Say no to fast-tracking the Trans-Pacific Partnership. No to fast-tracking the TPP!
Okay, next up we have Ben Martin from the Connecticut chapter of 350.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming today. I think this is great. I agree with everything she said, and 350 Connecticut being an environmental organization and an organization that wants to move us beyond fossil fuels, we recognize the need for union workers and jobs that are going to come from green energy, and that we don't want those going outside the United States with this partnership. The other thing that scares me deeply about this partnership is that, as she mentioned before, there will be a tribunal that can basically question any laws that a country has in place and basically skirt them if a corporation decides that they don't like them. So that means that our clean water laws, our clean air laws can be basically null and void if the company has their headquarters in an office in the Cayman Islands. So it's a really scary thing to say that any corporation can sue a country because there are laws so they don't have to follow their laws. This means that if states come up and say that we don't want fracking here and we're gonna outlaw fracking, and I think it's a important thing to say today because this is officially Global Frackdown Day. And 350 definitely supports not fracking. So, but if we decide in Connecticut that we're going to say no fracking, then Halliburton can come in here and say, no, that's not good. We're going to go to the tribunal, and then the tribunal can say, no, you can't outlaw fracking. Same with the Keystone Pipeline, this pipeline coming down from Canada, so they can get their tar sands out of Canada that are poisoning the people there, and bring it to the export market. So let's say that we win on that issue and President Obama denies the pipeline. They can go to this tribunal and get the pipeline approved and basically, as Alan Grayson said, and he's one of the people that's actually seen this agreement as it's coming up, it will cede our democracy to corporations, and it will cede our sovereignty as a nation. Same goes with if we remember the BP oil spill a couple years ago, did horrible damage to the coast, killed 11 people, and they're arguing right now in court about how much oil they spilled so they can pay less money. Now, let's once again say we win that court case and they have to pay the maximum fine. And this partnership goes into effect, and BP can in essence go to this tribunal and say, we don't want to pay the fine, and the tribunal agrees with them, we can't enforce it. So this is a very terrible idea for the environment, for jobs, for people of America, and we need to reject this and definitely not fast track it and bring it into the open, these secret negotiations that are going on right now, where our elected representatives can look at it, but they can't record anything, they can't write anything down, and they basically have to memorize some 50-page document that they can look at in one room, while corporations can go in there anytime and write and make edits and do whatever they want. So this definitely needs to be rejected, and we need to have open negotiations about trade with other countries so that we can preserve our environmental laws, preserve our labor laws, and basically preserve our quality of life and our way of life. And so I thank you all for coming today, and let's all just flush the TPP! Flush the TPP!
Something else that Alan Grayson said about the script of the agreement was that he can't tell us what's in it, but he can say that it's like a punch in the face to the middle class. So that's why we're out here today.
Can't hear you very well.
Oh, sorry. Okay, next up we have Jen Siskin from Food and Water Watch.
Hey everybody, great to see you here. Thank you so much for turning out. Activate Connecticut, you guys are awesome for organizing this. Thank you so much. We are in need of a wholesale push towards real, green, sustainable energy jobs. Clean energy is a word that's being thrown around to support the natural gas industry right now. It is anything but clean. It is a fossil fuel that will continue to contaminate our environment and push us further and further towards climate change damage. We'd like to thank Bill McKibben for doing his Skype that went around the world internationally supporting today our Global Crackdown Day. This is the second year that we've been able to organize a Global Crackdown. It's an international event that is being hosted in more than 20 countries. We have close to 300 protest actions occurring around the world. But if the TPP gets fast-tracked, all of this effort that's being made to prevent fracking and to cut back on this horrendously dangerous energy source will just go right out the window. There are nations around the world that have already banned fracking. We have 250 different communities across the United States that have either banned or put moratoriums on fracking. However, if fracking is fast-tracked through the TPP, as mentioned before, these efforts that people are making in communities across the nation. So we'd like to thank Activate Connecticut for allowing us to be here today to talk a little bit about fracking, to talk about how dangerous the TPP is as far as fast-tracking it forward. We want our elected officials to be able to read the documents that they are voting on in Congress. We want them to be able to make amendments as they see is fit for the constituents in their states. But fast-tracking will not allow them to make any changes or amendments to this trade agreement. And our democracy is just completely being infiltrated by industry, which we can't allow to happen. So thank you very much, Activate Connecticut. Thank you for being here. Let's hear another rally cry back to Flush the TPP.
Flush the TPP!
Thank you, Jen. Next up, we have Deborah Cohen of GMO-Free CT and Activate CT.
Good morning, everybody. It's so good to have you all here together. I would just like to make a short comment about why we're out here on the sidewalk today. That's because going back as far as this past August, we have been trying to get a meeting with Congressman Larson. Many phone calls, many emails, traded the airwaves, and no meeting was ever granted to us, so we decided to bring the meeting to the sidewalk today. I'm here speaking out against the TPP, specifically in terms of the GMO issue that's facing all of us. There are so many people who work very, very hard in Connecticut to pass the GMO labeling bill here in our state. And I'm going to wait till they pass by. Because what we all have to say is very important and needs to be heard. I don't remember a lot of the math that I learned umpteen years ago, but I do remember a phrase, and that was lowest common denominator. The lowest common denominator is what is going to happen to everything that affects our lives if the TPP is allowed to actually come to life. It will affect food safety and choice laws. It will affect labeling laws. It will affect labor laws. It will affect banking regulation. I know that if this TPP actually goes into effect, I will lose all rights to know where my food comes from. I will lose all rights to know whether or not my food contains GMOs. I will lose all right to any information about what I choose to eat, what I choose to buy, and what I choose to feed to my family. The GMO and Monsanto issue is a very small part of the TPP, but I believe it's just as important as all of the others. I really, really believe that this agreement is going to take us all down, and that we all need to do whatever we can to say no. We all need to do whatever we can to say flush the TPP.
Flush the TPP!
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for coming out today. We really appreciate that you're here. Shannon Watson from Activate CT. As Deborah said, we've been trying since August to get a phone call or a meeting with Congressman Larson. Not just with him, with one of his aides that handles this, with anyone in his office, and not just on our own, but with constituents, with labor groups, with environmental groups standing by our side. And we have not been able to get a meeting. We have been given the call. He released information to the Hartford yesterday in his position on this. His position was he's talking to his constituents. I'm not sure which ones, but none of the ones that we know. And that he is going to be working with the Ways and Means Committee, and they are talking about something. Well, 5 members of the Ways and Means Committee have already signed on to DeLauro's letter saying no to fast-tracking the TPP. So again, I'm not sure who he's talking to about this, but it's not them. The frustration I'm feeling at this point is, it's just ridiculous. All of you here know what the TPP is. That's why you're here. The press is not covering it in this country. In Japan, the press is covering it. In Malaysia, the press is covering it. In Australia, the press is covering it. In the United States, it has been hushed up completely. trying to get people to pay attention to the fact that our government is trying to push through what they're calling a trade deal by the end of this year that will affect every single person in this country in a negative way, at least one negative way. It affects our job safety, it affects minimum wages, it will lower the wages in this country. We are solving to the lowest common denominator, which I believe the lowest minimum wage in these countries, one of them is $2. If anyone ever expects the minimum wage to go higher, when we're competing for jobs where people are getting paid $2 an hour, it's never going to happen. Now, I've had letters from Representative Courtney saying they're talking on the additional funding that will be put aside for retraining because of, jobs affected. Well, I'm not sure what jobs they're going to retrain people for, other than working at gas stations, Walmart, McDonald's. There will be no jobs left in this country other than service jobs. Everything else will be shipped out. There will be no IT jobs. There'll be nothing left. It'll be in another country. It'll be in Japan, eventually China, when they sign on. I think the most important thing for everyone here that you have to do is just communicate with the people you know and let them know what this is. Many people, when you say trade deal, TPP, they get this glazed look in their eyes and they go, it's trade, whatever. Try just saying NAFTA, Detroit. Detroit's bankrupt. NAFTA killed Detroit. That city is gone. TPP affects the entire country the way Detroit, worse than Detroit was affected. This is looking at taking the United States to the lowest level it has ever seen. And they're doing it. And they're pushing it by the end of the year. And no one even knows about it.
Wow.
And they won't even talk to us about it. We have two, Rosa DeLauro, thank God, with this letter. We met with Representative Esty. And although it was a frustrating meeting for some of you that were there with that meeting, we did get her to sign on to that letter. So we have 3 representatives left in Connecticut that we still do not have answers from. Courtney, Larson, and Hines. They need to know what their constituents want them to do. We can't just put them in office and say, do your job. We need to tell them. Their phone should be off the hook every day. They should be getting letters every day from every person in this country, in this state, that does not own some big, huge company that's going to make money off of it, should be calling them, telling them, enough, stop, we're done. So, I'm glad you were all here. I hope that we got some people's attention. I hope that we let them know we're not letting this end. We're not going to keep writing him. We're going to keep banging on his door until he talks to us and gives us a straight answer one way or another. So I think, just to let everybody know, we are going to move down the street to the corner to the park. We're going to stand there for a little while, do some honk and wave, try to get some attention, try to get some information out to people. And yes, we have a phone script for anyone that would like to call his office. It's on the back. Yes, if you have your chance sheet, it is on the back of the chance sheet. So you can call them. If you don't have your phone with you, you can use one of ours to call. And bring it home with you. Give it to someone else. Share it with people. Have them call. Have them do the same thing. Let us know if anybody gets any information about it. We would love to know what he said because we can't get it out of him. So, yeah, because all I hear is blah blah blah. I don't know. All right, I think that's all we have to say right now.